Hey everyone, welcome back to another live episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. Today we've got a doozy. Today I'm joined with Cassie Green, Jennifer Bookspan from Forbes.jobs. Jennifer is the CEO of Forbes.jobs, and Cassie Green is the Chief Revenue Officer of Forbes.jobs. And you might have been paying attention to a little bit of buzz that's going on with this new platform that's going to launch. And in this podcast, we're going to give you everything you need to know about this new exciting opportunity in the space. Jen, Cassie, thank you for hanging with me today. Let's talk some Forbes jobs.
Thank you, Donnie. What an honor. We're so excited to be here.
Thanks, Donnie. It's great to chat. I'm excited.
Awesome. So Jen, we'll start with you. Why don't you just give us a little bit of your background in the recruiting industry?
Yeah, I've been in recruiting for over 20 years, spent some time actually in HR, spent 17 years in executive search, spent the last 4 years at a company called Zillow Group. I think most of you guys know that company, and helped them build out a couple of really cool businesses. And so really multifaceted experience from the recruiting side. And have a big passion. If anyone who knows me, I have a huge passion for recruiting.
Cassie, give us a little bit of your background, please, if you will.
Yeah, Robert Half. I spent 9 years with them, built out some teams, mainly in the Midwest, and landed down in Atlanta. And then I decided it was just the right time to switch gears. I thought maybe I'd go out on my own, and knew I'd have to go to corporate for a year to at least to work it out. So I was going to buy some time, and I went to Zillow Group. That's where I met Jen. I hit it at the right time. We were in this rapid growth machine and had a lot of autonomy to build and create. And I think it was like the best conditions possible. But, I think as that flattened out, I can confirm it's corporate might not necessarily be my end game. And so started doing some consulting with Jen at Forbes, and came over full time to build out this platform and this new network. So really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think it's important for those of you guys that are watching and listening to understand that this platform comes from people that have actually sat in your seat or sat in a seat in this space, and as we kind of share this, you'll really see how this has evolved. So Jen or Cassie, whoever wants to go with this one, I mean, what is this platform anyways? What do we got? What is Forbes.jobs?
Yeah, well, I would, it's complicated, but in a short sentence, I would say it's what we're looking to do is create a very quality information site that is all things career and a marketplace mixed together. So we're trying to create a very clean, I call it a clean house for people to come where everything's organized, vetted, and high quality. And it's kind of a one-stop shop for your career over your lifetime. So.
Love it. Cassie, what do you want to tag onto that one there?
No, I think that covers it. I mean, I know we'll get into it more, but for me, I feel like people want to work with the best people. And sometimes, like, as you look at your network, whether it's your personal network or what you've acquired on social media, it's hard to sometimes differentiate, like, who really is the best in here? Who would I want to hedge my bets on for my career? And it's tough to navigate. And so what we're going to do is take the guesswork out of it.
Love it. Love it. Now, Jen, you mentioned that this is a kind of a marketplace that we're creating within this too. Who's going to be on this marketplace? What are the specifics around that?
Yeah, so I want to start with recruiters because I think it's really important. We talk about a huge part of making the world go round. I think 65% of all manager or director level and above hires are placed by professional recruiters. So that's a really big deal. So that it's kind of the unspoken thing that people don't talk about, but I want to say to all you recruiters out there, we see you, we hear you, we know you make a huge impact in really American business all the way around in people's lives as well. So one of the things we're doing, which is probably what people have heard the most about, is we are creating a network of the top recruiters across the entire country in a multitude of niches who are top performers, top in ethics, values, and really want to collaborate and want to be a part of something bigger. And we believe that we can help them, but they can help talent and companies at the same time. So it's kind of an integral piece. But beyond that, our vision for this is much bigger. It's all kinds of resources. So I think a candidate or a talent could come here, and we are going to have career coaches. We're going to have content. We're going to have education. There's assessments that people can take. We'll have events. We'll have a community section. So it isn't just about engaging about a job search. It's really about how can we help you in your career. And if you think about it, there's lots of times in life where you need help. You might need help negotiating a package. You may need to make a career pivot. Maybe you need to get out of an industry. We're trying to create a situation where you could come here and get help with whatever you need, and you get good resources along the way.
Love it. Cassie, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think Jen, great. That's exactly right. Like I think it's less transactional. There's more stickiness to it where like real relationships are. You're going to work with someone on a lot of different things. You're not necessarily just partnering when you want to switch jobs. You may do that a few times in your career. There's so much more here. It's more three-dimensional than that. Right.
Now, one of the things I think that is I'm sure a lot of people, I'm actually really curious about this too, but like, why? Like, how did this whole thing come to life? I mean, everybody knows the name Forbes. This isn't necessarily Forbes. It's related, but it's not Forbes. It's different. So how did this Forbes.jobs come to life?
Yeah. So I'll take that, and Cassie, meet me afterwards. But first of all, we are a Forbes media company. We are a joint venture under the Forbes brand. We're 55% owned by Forbes. So wanted to clear that up.
Yep.
And it's funny because I've been dreaming about something like this for a long time, probably more than 5 years, about how can we build a network of really, really amazing recruiters. I have thought about that for a long time, but fate had its way, I guess. I got tapped last year by a member of the venture capital group who happened to remember me from 15 years ago when I helped him. He wanted some help with his daughters. His daughter had some career stuff, and he wanted my help. So he remembered that. He reached out to me. We started talking about this concept, and then I started consulting. I was really excited about it, and we started I call it the Skunk Works, or the R&D lab, last summer, and started really, really spending some time thinking about how we can create value and where the missing links are in the market. So that's how it all began.
Love it. Cassie?
I mean, I love Jen. When I was thinking about where I'd go, which company I would end up taking an offer from when I was leaving Half, meeting Jen just totally solidified going to Zillow. Like, I met some really cool people along the way. I had an awesome run-in with Aaron Cuny, who was in the Atlanta office at the time, and he was excellent. But when I met Jen, I just remembered thinking, like, I have to work with this person. I want to learn from this person. And the 4 years that we worked together at Zillow was like the best run ever, and just chaotic and fun and a total rush and completely different than everything I'd ever heard about corporate recruiting. We also saw a ton of cracks, though, quite frankly. And I saw a lot of cracks on the big firm side too, things that are hard to ignore. And so, like, when Jen went over here and just hearing about what they were doing, I've said this to a lot of people I've met too. This is personal for me. I personally saw the impact of the downside of big firm. I personally saw the impact of the downside of not knowing who to partner with in a corporate setting. And so for me, I see there's so much upside to really taking some time and doing due diligence, vetting out the right people and players, and endorsing people, not just companies. So for me, that's a big deal. And getting involved has been a blast from the start, and a little bit of like a wild ride already.
Love it. So for those of you that are joining live, if you guys could tap that little like button, that makes this video go a little bit further for us. We'd appreciate that. I see some awesome comments. Cassie and Jen, you got some fans already. Scott Bond, two of the best in the biz right there. Daniel Chatham, who's excited. Michael Deckard. So right on, guys. Thank you for being here with us today. And that's what I was talking about earlier, kind of going back. I think it's so important because you guys have sat in the shoes of kind of the bigger office and kind of the niche, recruiting office. And you see some of those cracks. And Jen, being kind of a former boutique, agency owner yourself and running that in the past, like what were some of the cracks or what were some of the things that you built specifically on this platform to solve some of those challenges?
Well, I think that there's a couple things. I believe that recruiters are, it's the people in the profession who make the impact. And the companies matter, but the people do the work. So I think of it like a top doc. The recruiters are my top docs in my mind. And so I focus on the top recruiters, not necessarily that they're with a certain brand of company. And so that's really important because this is a business that is about really connection and helping and guiding both companies from a talent advisory standpoint as well as candidates. So I think a couple things. Sometimes these people are great salespeople and they have a phenomenal business, but they might not be well known. They might not be great at marketing and branding. And I can say that that is not my expertise. And
preaching to the choir over here.
Why are we talking to you, Donnie? Why are we talking to you? But I think to myself, I think we could help really awesome people elevate themselves and get exposure. And by the way, there are companies out there who would absolutely love to know who's really good in this space, who can help me, who really can I make a call to, and I don't have to try to guess. And that, I think that is what we're trying to do, is kind of clean up that or reduce the friction in the process of connecting really good talent, companies, and recruiters.
Awesome. Cassie, what about your point of view from kind of coming from the bigger, the Robert Half part of things?
Totally. I mean, I'm not going to lie about this. There are some incredible people at Robert Half. I had the fortunate opportunity of working alongside of them. There are some people that rock what they do. They have integrity. They're great. But I will say there are also just as many, if not more, people who maybe aren't in the right space and are still there. So, you as when you call into an organization like that, you're calling in because the brand is really well known, right. And you're reaching out with a sense of security of, okay, this group, everyone there must know what they're doing. But the reality is that that's not true. You may get paired up with someone who's their first week on desk and they might not know what they're doing. And you don't really get to dictate necessarily that you want to partner with someone else who actually has a clue. And so I think it's frustrating, because I've talked to a lot of independent folks or ex-halfers or even people who are still there, and it drives them crazy too. And so I see this as like an opportunity to really endorse.
It's okay. That's the first dog that's ever barked on the show. Dang it, Cassie. I'm just kidding.
Even the dogs are upset about this.
So I think, this is actually just kind of, for me, it makes a lot of sense. One of my personal missions and passions about the space is to help smaller boutique independent recruiters build a name for themselves so they can really compete against these bigger companies that have more marketing, more knowledge, more brand, more firepower essentially. So like when you guys approached me about coming to help out, it was a no-brainer for me because it really aligns what I think, solving a huge, challenge in this industry. It's something I'm very passionate about with how I help, companies market themselves and do business development and leverage, online stuff to improve their business. And I think this fits right into line with that of how do we find, the true experts and give them more, because, with my point of view, speaking with a lot of recruiters, there's nothing more frustrating than what you just outlined there, Cassie, which is, hey, I'm really a true pro, but then there's this other person who might have more marketing or firepower behind them that's getting the business that may not be actually at my level. And so I think that that's one of the things from where I see it. This is going to, you know, really solve that challenge.
Well, sorry, Donnie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Don't let it happen again, Jen.
Well, I'm just excited. Sorry. I
Yeah.
think one of the things I just wanted to say was being on the corporate side was so helpful. And Cassie will tell this to all of you out there. Companies don't know who's good either. I want you to know that. Like, they really don't. You think they do, they don't. It's really hard. So I think that if we can help solve that problem, it's a really big deal. And I think to myself, there were so many times when we were in a crazy pinch at Zillow. And if I knew that I could call Susie Smith in Atlanta and she could help me find a finance director, or whoever, Jason Jones in Boston, you know, regarding a sales leader, it would have been all day long, because that we had time was not on our side. And I think a lot of times it's time and money, but time is not on our side. And if we can reduce the friction, I think it creates a win-win for all people involved.
Well, and just to piggyback on that too, like, I think the other component to consider is, like, right now where we're at, this is a unique time in recruiting. I think it's almost like a dichotomy of things happening, because you're seeing some major changes in some industries where things are slowing down and evolving, and in other spaces they're picking up and they're busier than they've ever been. What we know is that in the executive search space, this is about to be insanely busy over the next 20 years. Just considering the amount of folks who are retiring compared to who we have in the industries with knowledge who can replace them, there's a gap, and it's significant. And so people who are experts in this space, who really know what they're doing in these niches and specific industries, are going to become more valuable than they've ever been, especially as you consider who's in your personal network, who you can place. And so if we can really, you know, illuminate who are the top people here, who are the right people to talk to and connect with in these specific niches, regardless of their affiliations in company or if they're independent or what have you, that reduces friction for everyone, for candidates, for companies, for recruiters, and ultimately we will all benefit from this in the long run. So I think, like, no matter how you cut it, recruiting is not going out of style anytime soon. It's going to become more critical than it's ever been for a long time.
100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. And thank you, everybody. We love, there's some great comments, great interaction going on. If you guys have any questions, feel free to chime in. I'll try to get to those. I think one of the questions that comes up for me, right, when we talked about it, that I think a lot of people have is like, well, how is this different than LinkedIn?
I would, in a simple way, I think it's a more about quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. And I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been great for many reasons, but it can be overwhelming. And I think we're trying to create a situation where it's a smaller, focused on qualities, and everyone needs more time in their life. So how can we create a situation where you can get to the right people faster and have more of a relationship, more building of community versus, I think LinkedIn is more of a social network. And I think this is more of a career and talent focus area.
I think LinkedIn's a little noisy, but it's all we have, so we use it. And I think in, like, the mid-tier and the early space for career, it's brilliant. And you're getting, like, all the things you want. When you're thinking of content, there are some thought pieces on LinkedIn that are valuable, but this is not where executives are hanging out. You know that. Like, we all are aware, this isn't where they're going for content. That's not how they're job searching. This is not what they're going to do, to find people in their peer group. And there's a lot of other avenues that they're considering. One of them is Forbes. They come to Forbes for content. We know that. And so, they make up a huge portion of our viewership each month. And so if we can pull that content in and then also vet out some of these other pieces that really make up the whole ecosystem of career, coaching, recruiting, companies, et cetera, put them all in one space, the type of reach outs and collaboration and connectivity that happens in that type of a network is real different than what you experience on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Awesome. I just want to give you guys a chance. I know that comes up often for you guys. So I think that's, some really good points you made there. Now, I know this is also, we're creating a new opportunity, but it's not for necessarily everyone, right? You guys are really, and I think this is a key component to understand, is first and foremost, it's an honor to be selected and be a recruiter on the Forbes.jobs. Can you guys dive into a little bit of what is the criteria in order to become a Forbes.jobs recruiter?
Yeah, I'm going to let Cassie take that.
So, and I apologize because it seems like there's like a little bit of a delay on this. So I don't know if it's clear or not on you guys for your end, but I would just say, not everyone is necessarily in the station or season of their career in recruiting where this is the right platform. Like, I think we're considering individuals who are proven performers and high performers at that. And it's more than that, though. It's high ethics and integrity. Those two things in particular are, at times missing in the recruiting world. And I think it's maybe led to recruiting getting a bit of a bad rap occasionally. And so we want to clean it up. And I think that that's just as important as consistent high performance. So those are two of the main things that we're considering, or three rather, to be a part of this. And then I think, just someone from a connectivity standpoint, I don't want to say pay it forward, because I know we're all here building our businesses, but some of the best people I've worked with are not afraid to help connect people to each other, even if there's nothing in it for them. And I think that community is a big piece of this as well.
There's a little saying, and Cassie's going to laugh, but that I always say, 1 + 1 = 11. And it's just a goofy thing I say, which to me is the power of a really high performing team and connected together, working in the same place. So how I look at recruiters is, if you really want to be a part of a network where you can collaborate and get lift from each other, you can outperform anyone. And I think that's the mentality, is people who want to have their own business, run their own business, but be a part of something where there's collaboration, there's referral stuff going on, there's learning opportunities for people, there's connection. It really could be huge, I think, for people.
Yeah. I think that's Jen, you're a mathematician. Great comments coming in here right now.
Mathematician, woohoo!
Yeah. I think it's important, like I said, that there is a criteria, that there is this whole thing. And I think you bring up a really good point, which I don't think a lot of people think about, which is that collaboration part. Looks like Cassie's left. She'll be back, I'm sure. So we'll bring her back on. But is that whole collaboration part, that opportunity to kind of rub elbows, because there's something magical about being around like-minded people and being able to create a community of like-minded people. It's one of the things that I do with my program, and I see it firsthand of like people that, like this success driving forward, like you're saying, from that team aspect. So I think that's a really, really good point that you bring up around that specifically. Question just came in. Other than marketing, is there an incentive for hiring managers to change their current requirement habits and use Forbes.jobs recruiters? How do we actually drive them to the site?
Well, you can apply as a company onto the site. We are running we are doing a pilot program right now. So if someone's interested in being first on the site as a company, we can absolutely engage with you and get you going. We're looking for some feedback. And I think the question is absolutely we have awesome recruiters already going. I think it would be a conversation to figure out what your needs are and whether we have if we can take care of your needs. So let me know. You can absolutely reach out to me directly. I think LinkedIn, you could message me or apply to the site, either way, and we could have a conversation.
Yeah, just the site, just go to forbes.jobs and you'll see a place for company tab on there that you can easily apply through. So really appreciate that question. Cassie, you missed the best part of the show, but welcome back.
Sorry, that's not been my day.
Let's kind of use that as a little bit of a segue, Jen, is, how do you guys see, just talking about the company benefit? I know we've kind of brought this up in a roundabout way, but what are specifically some of the benefits that you see from a company standpoint to being on Forbes.jobs?
Well, I first of all, we're really going to focus on the best resources. We already have covered that. But number two, we are really focused on attracting talent. At this point, the talent focus is director level and above. So leadership talent to board level. So I want to be clear about that. I think we have a great opportunity to attract serious talent to the site. We have a huge brand behind us. Forbes gets 150 million views on a monthly basis to their digital assets. So I think we can absolutely capitalize on that. And I think if we can attract that talent, one of the things that I haven't really talked about is that Cassie and I haven't mentioned yet is the profiles of the talent are much more 360 than a LinkedIn. So people get a chance to really talk about who they are and things like their preferred company size and preferred growth or mature company life cycle, and maybe their dream job, things that they really can talk about that may be more than, or I'm a veteran, or I traveled around the world for a year, or things that make people who they are that can be valuable to bring to work, but we just can't see it. It is hard to be able to put that on LinkedIn. So I think there's a couple of options of, hey, if you want a competitive advantage, we're going to have awesome resources, and our goal is to attract talent. And I think that there's more to it, but I also think this gives companies a chance to improve their employer brand, which I would say is probably something companies need to really be strategic about. I don't see the talent shortage. I know we're going through some bumpiness, so I want to be sensitive that there are some bumpy roads right now. But if you look at the next 30 years, if you look at the data, we are going to be talent short for all the things that we need to do in our country. We are going to be talent short, and we have to think creatively about how to get the right people. So I think it could be a huge competitive advantage.
Love it. Cassie, is there anything you would add on to that there?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And there are some industries in particular more than others, even, like I think of healthcare and renewable energy, the clean energy space. These are spaces that are already in the thick of a talent deficit. And I think, now more than ever, if you haven't thought about your succession planning as an organization, it's time. And that's part of this too, is it's really working. Even if you don't have needs today, you can get aligned to the right recruiter who could really help start building that relationship with you as a company and strategizing with you and consulting to provide a lens into what you can expect, what's around the corner, and what you should already consider building into your model beyond just a transactional experience when needs come up. So there's some benefits there as well.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the whole idea with this is really, truly, to kind of facilitating relationships, kind of like in a more old school, in a new school way, but using kind of the old school of like, hey, we have to build relationships to build genuine connection. And I think that's really cool what you shared, Jen, on, the talent profile. This is actually something I think that's important for recruiters too, is like a big part of human connection is like who we are as people. And in marketing, and not to go on a side tangent, but in marketing, that's like one of the most overlooked things is like, especially with personal brand, I want to just connect with who you are as a person. I think that's I think that's a great thing that you guys are going to be solving with just kind of more of a 360 view, like you said, of a candidate profile. And that creates a lot of transparency for the hiring companies or even the recruiters that are looking to engage with these individuals. And boy, do we need transparency in this space. So
and recruiters can do that too. I should have been more clear in terms of they can really, their profiles it's a real opportunity for them as well to talk about themselves.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. So yeah, we got a question in here. Yeah, we're going to do Q&A, Howard. I think we're probably going to stay away from the pricing unless Cassie, you want to get into that on here, but I would say, maybe reaching out to have a conversation would be the next step. If you have any other questions about the platform, I'm sure we'd be happy to discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it was Howard that asked that. Howard, you can just contact me directly. We can get into it if you're wanting to learn more, because there's a few different options there. So
I also just want to make a comment that we are early stage. I want to be really clear. We are early stage. We've done quite a bit on the platform. In the next 6 weeks, there's going to be a huge amount of change that for just build out and growth. So I think this is for people who like to pioneer at this point and also really like to make an impact and help us think about more. What else could we do? And it will change. Every month it changes, but we really, really want to create value for all parties. And I think it's what we've tried at every step is to really ask questions and listen to make sure we are thinking about how can we be better and how can we service some broken pieces out there that people are frustrated with.
Yeah. Now, trying to think how I want to ask this next one here. Shoot, I lost my train of thought.
one thing too, Jen, I don't know if you want to get into this, but I feel like one of the most popular things that's on this platform, what we've heard about from folks so far, has just been the pizza tracker. Do we want to talk about that, or is
the pizza tracker?
The pizza tracker. This might just be a code secret that we share on our first call if you're interested in learning more, but just a hint is it's major transparency, and I think it's some transparency that talent's hungry for, recruiters are hungry to give, companies are hungry for. So it's a total game changer in particular. And if you don't know what a pizza tracker is, it's like, I don't know, early 2000s Domino style. So look it up.
We're trying to give more transparency to the talent or the candidates along the way, which is probably the largest complaint that you all have heard and we have all heard for years and years, which is they ghosted me, they left, they shut, I didn't hear anything for 10 days. I interviewed 3 times. I spent 20 hours in this process. There's a lot of frustration and inexperience. So we're trying to digitize that, but also create an environment where people feel like the lights are turned on and they get an answer as quickly as possible. So it feels respectful. And I think that's a huge basic thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think actually, who here, raise your hand if you're on this and you're one of the pioneers, if you're one of the founding Forbes.jobs recruiters, if you're listening with us live, just go ahead and raise your hand. And then for those of you that aren't yet, then reach out to Cassie or reach out to Jen to have this conversation. Yes, there are fees to join, just so you guys know that. But one question came in from Brandon, and I can answer this, but I'll give you guys the chance to. But I'm really intrigued to know how recruiters and companies can showcase we are Forbes.jobs certified.
Yeah, well, that is a really good question. We have a plan, and we've had this in our plan for the whole time, to create a certification program for recruiters. That's actually like going through a training and education. Everyone's on the same page with multitude of things, and it is in process. What I can tell you is it is a big undertaking. If you want to do something really high quality, it requires time, it requires resources. And so it is in our plan to do. And we think it could be a huge level up for recruiters to have that certification. Part of what we're doing is the vetting process. So not everyone can come to Forbes.jobs. I want to make that clear. As a recruiter, you have to go through the interview and vetting process. I think we haven't thought about a company certification program, but it's possible. We just haven't. It's a good idea. We haven't jammed on something like that yet, but I love it. So we'll keep you coming, but I think keep that coming. But I think the recruiter certification program is in our plan, and we will keep you posted.
Cassie, you good on that?
Yeah, I don't know if I could add anything else to it.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I think it's one of those things that's great. But even in lieu of that, not having been fully created yet, I think that there's a reason why folks have joined this call today. There's a reason, I mean, other than you guys love Donnie and trust him, but there's a lot that is tied to the brand of Forbes and a lot of understanding. And when I think of Forbes, I think of the best. I think of elite. I think of luxury. I think of all of those things that are kind of, make up the image of Forbes. And Forbes really does know quality, and that we're, extremely invested in continuing that brand here. I think what we're trying to do, though, is create a space to where it's not a pay-to-play scenario. This is really, you have to qualify to be a part of this. This is from your own work, what you've put into your business, whether it's you're independent on your own, boutique firm, regardless of what station you're in, it's about you as an individual and your contribution. And so as we're looking at folks to even consider to be a part of this, we're spending a lot of time vetting through interview, through vetting, billings and all of those details, as well as detailed reference checks, which is really helping us determine who's best to be a part of this community.
Yeah. And just to follow up on one other angle, Brandon, is like, there's not a certification process, but if you are a Forbes.jobs recruiter, then you can put that as part of your LinkedIn profile, your email signature. It can be a part of your brand if you are, in fact, certification is not the right word, but if you are a part of the platform, we'll just say it that way. So Jeffrey had a question. Are senior level candidates managing their own profile, or is Forbes.job managing those candidates and tracking talent?
The senior level candidates would be managing their own profile. So anyone who has a profile, that's theirs to run, not ours. We just create the format for people to be able to answer the questions we discussed earlier.
Now, I'm going to kind of throw you guys on the spot here, but I work with a lot of people that I know are kind of they're still growing, right? They wouldn't qualify right now. What would be kind of the message to them that are looking to, I think they would qualify for sure in terms of the integrity and the ethics, but maybe not the performance side of things. What is some of the advice that you guys are giving people that aren't there yet, to let them know that, like, hey, we want you to be a part of this when you're ready, type of a thing?
I think the point is we listen, I am always going to be wanting to stay connected with talent, and I think Cassie would be as well. And we absolutely, if not now, we want to keep talking for sure, because I think there will be opportunities for people as they go in their career. It's just a matter of right now where we are. But yes, there's there's always opportunity. I think it's just about talking about where someone needs to be. And we keep in mind, we've got to draw a line, because we aren't really, this isn't exclusive if we're not really we're holding ourselves accountable to the standards that we've met. So.
Yeah.
Cassie, anything you want to follow up with?
Yeah, I just think there's always value in building relationships. Like even if we're connecting and we're finding out now it's not the right time. It's amazing how small of a world this is, this recruiting space. I feel like if you've been in it for a while, it's amazing how many people you meet along the way that you come back around to at some point. And so I think there's value in connecting, at least sharing a conversation. And I know for me, I always want to be honest with someone. I know Jen is too. That's important to us. I'm not going to it's not valuable to us to mislead you to think this is the right time. This is a unique group. As we continue to grow and evolve, that could grow and evolve. But for now, we're really focused on folks who are experts in niches and proven high performers, I think, as we kick this thing off. So that can change in the future. It could expand. Either way, we could probably put you in touch with some great connections that maybe you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Another question came in and says, are there opportunities on the client management side of things outside of the recruiting, more the relationship side of driving business forward?
Yes, Kim, I see you. I hear you there. Absolutely. I am going to be a little shameless here. If in a self-promotion way, we are definitely hiring internally, and we need help in a lot of ways to support this business. So message us. You're welcome to reach out if anyone has an interest in exploring what we've got. Happy to share that. And we're
Excellent.
A really cool team, by the way.
Yes, you are. I've met a good majority of the team. Awesome people. For those of you that are still with us hanging here live, I know we've got a pretty good audience here today. So we're kind of coming to the end. I want to just kind of give one last reminder, if you have any questions for Cassie and Jen, to go ahead and ask those now. If you're enjoying the value that they're dropping in just this overall platform, please give us little likes, loves, little applause, maybe, I don't know. But ladies, what did we not cover that maybe we should?
I just think I want to just say, in my book, it's a win for every group.
Yeah.
There's no win-lose, it's win-win. We want talent to be able to grow their careers, have better opportunities, have resources that can help them go to another level or get where they need to go in life. We have an opportunity for recruiters, really strong recruiters, to up-level their opportunity, grow their connections, grow their business. And we have an opportunity for companies to get better talent faster and working with high-level resources. So to me, and I didn't even talk about the coaches, which I think is a whole nother really awesome area that we have. I just don't see how we lose. I don't see who loses in this situation.
Yeah. Build a platform for all to win. Love it. Cassie, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think the platform is incredible. And as we continue to, scale it out and it becomes live later this year, I think we're really going to see some cool strides happen on it. But it's not just that. Like, I think that there's something to be said. I know we've alluded to it, we've kind of talked around it, but there's something to be said about the value of this brand and how you can use it to grow your business. I remember when we would get drops at half for being like the top 100 staffing and search companies from Forbes. And that was a big deal. And we would see huge spikes in business just from folks like having that awareness. If you have that and you're on your own, for me, in thinking from an entrepreneurial perspective, what you can do with that is a total game changer. Like, even if you are successful where you're at, but you have aspirations to do so much more, this really is something that can totally change things for you. And so it's the platform, yes, but I think it's like this community and this brand that really enhances things.
Love it. All right, cool. Well, I think we're kind of winding this thing down here. I mean, Jen, why don't you share, like, how can everybody connect with you? What would be the best way to connect with you, regarding the Forbes.jobs platform?
A couple of ways. If go to Forbes.jobs, just type it into your toolbar or your little space bar. And if you're a recruiter, I think you can apply. If you want to go through the application process, or a company, if you're a talent and you want to check us out, go fill out your profile. If you can definitely reach out to Cassie and I on LinkedIn if you want to message us or connect with us there. We're happy to have that conversation personally if that's more valuable for you and you have more questions, but love to hear from you.
Cassie, how about you?
C Green at Forbes.jobs. You can catch me there or on LinkedIn, whichever, or the ways Jen mentioned, but don't hesitate to reach out to me directly too. Would love to grab time and learn more.
And
Excellent. We did have one.
Yeah, and I should say Bookspan at Forbes.jobs. So there you go.
All right, beautiful. We have one last question that came in and said, I'm sorry if I'm missing context. Are recruiters finding talent outside the platform for positions that companies have listed, or are they making intros for senior talent inside the platform to roles that may not have applied for or seen?
It can really be both. Like, I think that's the beauty of this. There's not like a one size fits all solution. We're working with experts, and experts know what they're doing. So we don't want to dictate what the rules look like from that perspective.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys, coming on. I've really enjoyed working with you guys up to this point. It's really exciting, the platform. You can see from all the responses and comments that we've had, people are really excited about this. And I think if you are a recruiter that's one of the pioneers as a founding Forbes.jobs recruiter, congratulations, excited and happy for you. And if you aren't yet, then definitely take those actions to go apply. Go to Forbes.jobs, apply, or reach out to Cassie, like they said, on LinkedIn. Just a reminder for those of you that maybe you've caught on the show a little bit later, is this will be on my YouTube channel, and this will also be on all the major podcasting channels, iTunes. You can find the Relevant Recruiter Show on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Amazon, etc. So you can watch this later on today. Listen to this on your way home if you only got a portion of this. But thank you, ladies, so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thanks, Donnie.
You're amazing.
Awesome, guys. Well, we will see you next week for another live episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. But in the meantime, head over to Forbes.jobs to check it out. This is Donnie Gupton, your host, and we will see you next time.